Namaskar. So, I gave a talk to you, I think it was day before yesterday in the morning. Uh, and the talk was on what are the essentials of Indian thought, because they constitute the idea of India, right? Now, today, I'm going to talk to you about continuity in Indian art. What is it that there is a continuous thing that happens? Earlier I had thought that maybe I can show you a series of 100 slides or so, and then through that, but that gets a little long and too much of concentration on the visual and not communication. So I'll talk more or less about the same thing. This talk is also found in two parts on the internet. If you do a Google search, the CCRT had documented it. So you can find it, the history of Indian ideas, part 1 and part 2. So I have given a detailed version there also. Today we'll, after the talk, have some questions, discussions. So let me get down to the subject straight. I will play some examples of music, Vedic chant and other forms to illustrate, because that is something you can tangibly understand and see and ask questions. But then regarding philosophy and regarding culture and other things, we will have to go into the world of investigation, verbal investigation. Now, what is the big difference between India and other cultures, you see? But this is something we have to think about. We don't have to think about this only in complimentary terms, sare jahan se acha, all that, or that things like kuch baat hai ki hasti mitti nahi hamari, that type of thing. Now those of course are very valuable songs. I'll be the last person to in any way berate them or degrade them. Although the Sare Jahan Se Acha Hindustan Hamara was degraded by the very composer of this, Allama Iqbal, then wrote a song that, the biggest thing in the world is the Milli. Milli hai hum, watan hai sara jahan hamara. So he converted everything into Islam. And that became it is one of the national taranas of Pakistan today. And he says that Hindustan hamara, Chino Arab hamara, milli hai hum, watan hai sara jahan hamara. So that is the idea of Nizam-e-Mustafa. Nizam in Persian means order. And order as given to us by Mustafa. And Mustafa is defined in the Islamic tradition as the leader or as the king, not the ruler in the earthly sense only, in the political sense only, but also as the leader of the whole of Muslim world. So that is called Mustafa. And if you may remember that there was in 20s a big struggle. The British had deposed the Mustafa or the Khalifa. Another word for that was also the Khalifa. The British had deposed because Turkey had undergone a very major change. Turkey had a great reformer who is no longer called a great reformer now in Turkey. called Kamal Mustafa, and he westernized, he brought the Roman script, he threw out the Nastaliq or the Persian script. Then women were asked to give up hijab and everything and dress like Western women. And except for going and praying in the mosques, almost everything else was Europeanized by him. Now, of course, Turkey is going under the reverse phase under Erdogan. And there is again the emergence of the idea of Mustafa. Now, you would be wondering, why am I talking so much about Mustafa and Islam when the talk is more about continuity in India? The reason is very clear. India has never imagined that there will be a leader of the Indian people, a single leader in control. There is no concept like that in any Indian text, right from Rig Veda till modern times. Some of the very eminent modern thinkers of our time are like Vivekananda, and then Sri Aurobindo perhaps is, to my mind, the most exhaustive thinker. But none of these people have talked about a person who will be the leader of Bharat, or whatever are the other words for Bharat, Karma Bhumi, Jambu Dweep, etc. through history. There has never been the concept. And the king in India is also not imagined as your leader. Now, any guess as to why this has not happened in India? अब बहुत से लोग हैं वो कहेंगे साहब हमने लीडर का नहीं सोचा इसलिए हम आपस में लड़ते रहते हैं और हमारा एक लीडर नहीं है, and that is a disadvantage. There should be, just as Islam has the concept of Nizam-e-Mustafa or the Mustafa, इस तरह से there should be some big person. The concept that he should be the Sarve Sarva. Now, that cannot be. In India, that cannot be. Why?
Because we all are divine from our particular thing. So how can a leader be? How can we have a leader? Means we all are a part of the same thing, then how we can a leader? Because we all divine from the same thing.
Yes, but then somebody can say we all derive from the same thing, but just as we have a king or a prime minister to manage a state, we can have a leader to manage the whole of Hindu world or the whole of Indian world.
Because we don't believe in a man controlling things, but a dharma controlling the thing.
Okay, now one answer is that the person cannot be in control, but the concept or dharma can be in control. Okay, now that sounds a little closer to.
Clearly divided as to
Hmm?
the roles are clearly divided as to what the ruler can do, what is his limits, and
No, that is understood. But the question is that just as Islam has this, or Christianity, you see, in Christianity, Christ is the king of both the world, the other world, and also this world. He is the king of this world also. I'll come to you. He is temporal as well as spiritual, because there is nobody other than Christ who will take you to God. Till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. You know what Milton, who wrote that book, Paradise Lost. So he says, of a man's first disobedience, and the fruit of that forbidden tree, whose mortal taste brought death into the world and all our woe, till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. Sing, heavenly muse. So, in the style of Homer, this is how he opens his great poem. That we were disobedient, we lost heaven, we were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, we were born, all children are born in sin, and it is still one greater man, that is Jesus, who comes and restores us to the blissful seat. So only Jesus can do it. Christianity is clear. To this day, many people have asked the Pope, is it possible that others can have access to heaven? Hindus, Muslims, Red Indians, Australian Aborigines? Huh? No. So very niggardly Pope, I think 4 years ago, said that yes, God has his mysterious ways. It is possible that out of his great kindness he can allow others, but Christianity is the best way.
One reason can be that while we talk about the Abrahamic religion, they work in a concept of a linear fashion. What starts, ends and continues. But when we talk about our culture, it is a cyclical form.
It's a cycle.
It's a cycle that goes on. And while we take different...
No, I understand. But you see, you can fit the idea of a leader in cycle also. Like but Muhammad is the first leader. And when he finishes his life, then there will be another leader. Like in Islam, you see, in Islam, every great king would call himself the Mustafa, and also the leader of the Islamic world, and also the Ghazi. So Akbar was also a Ghazi, Aurangzeb was also a Ghazi. Anybody who occupied the throne, anywhere, small throne or Mughal throne, was a Ghazi, because he is the leader, and he is obliged to destroy the non-believers.
Maybe,
Yeah.
So I think maybe because the king in India or Bharat or whatever we'd like to call it was never a representative of God on land. There was always a separation between spirituality and
Okay,
king. So
that is kind of one legitimate thing, huh?
See, you said the word Khalifa. Khalifa in Arabic means substitute. Substitute of whom? Of Muhammad. Muhammad is said to be the last prophet. As a prophet, he cannot have a successor. But as a leader, he can have a successor. During his lifetime, whenever Muhammad went to pilgrimage, somebody will. Muhammad came as a leader of some people. There were only 200 in number in the first 13 years of when he started propagating. And in the last 10 years when he was in Medina, that became the largest growing religion. Why? Because it is said that if you kill, if you can loot, all that will be legitimate to you, halal to you, provided you provided 1/5 to Bayt al-Mal. Now, as Islam became a fastest growing religion, within 100 years of Muhammad's death, Islam has been at least reached to the western borders of India, to the southern of Europe. Twice it tried to seize Constantinople. It failed. So Islam grew as a sort of a political community from the very beginning.
But you see, Priyadarshi, we are talking here not just of Islam. The same thing happens in Christianity also. Because Christendom also, but here, Christianity also accepts the full, complete leader of the Christian people. Like, just a minute, Constantinos, when he becomes the king, then he is the temporal head, but he is again under Christ, and to reveal Christ to you is not the job of the king. It is the job of the church. So there is a difference between Islam and Christianity, there is a difference between Islam and Christianity, but the concept that men shall have a leader whose voice shall be supreme, this is there. Now, I'll give you the answer as to why this is not possible in India. For the very simple reason, in my lecture day before yesterday, I gave you a series of certain concepts like Rina, like Punarjanma, worshipping the Swarupa and the Nirankar or the Arupa in the same manner. But the Hindu concept or the Indian concept, and this again is not just followed by the Vedics, but is followed by Buddhists, about Christians, by Jainas, Tantrics, Vaishnavas, Shaivas, all, is the concept of four Purusharthas: Dharma, Artha, Kam and Moksha. What do you live for? You see? I live for largely these four things. So if you open the American Constitution, you find there that the aim is pursuit of happiness. That's what the American Constitution rests on. That's the fulcrum, right? If there are four concepts, Dharma, Artha, Kam and Moksha, and we won't go into it, then they have to be pursued by the individual. And if they are to be pursued by the individual, then it is not the king or even the guru, Sadguru, not just our Sadguru with motorcycle, but any guru or Sadguru cannot do it for you. See? This is the answer. Now, I will speak a little more to explain. Because a leader is the one who shows you the way. Right? You have to follow him. That's why Christ says, "He that followeth me shall not walk in darkness." Right? But you have to follow him. But Krishna doesn't say, "Follow me." He says, "You do, now I have told you the truth, I have told you all these things. Now you do what you like. Take your own decision." I mean, I follow my teacher in the sense that I listen to him, I meditate on what he says, and he helps me make a decision. But who takes the step? Because, number one, I am the one who alone will do the karma. If Guru does some karma for me, that has no reward for me. You see, this is the fundamental idea of Indian civilization. So I have to pursue dharma, I have to do it. Artha, I have to make money. The king cannot make money for me and just give me a dole and be a welfare state. Kama, of course, the king will enjoy his life, his senses. I will enjoy my senses. I cannot have satisfaction if somebody else, lives with my wife. Kama has to be, it's a personal thing. And similarly, moksha is a personal thing. Meri moksha hogi yaar, tumhari hogi, tum jano. And therefore so many ideas of moksha. Now, this is exactly the fundamental thing. आपकी अब समझ में आता है? That why there can be no parallel to what has been claimed in Christianity and Islam. Because all those actions which are done under either the Christian framework or under Islamic framework will have no meaning, no result, nothing in the Indian world. Because all Purusharthas are individual. Now, if all Purusharthas are individual, then all choices are individual. Do you want to be a painter? Do you want to be a poet? Do you want to be a musician? Do you want to be somebody who can use all these arts together? That is, do you want to be a filmmaker? What is the kind of genre that you want to do as an artist? It has to be your choice. Nobody can give it to you. That's why there is the old English saying that poets are not made but born. If somebody wants to do poetry, he is born poet in the sense that right from childhood, he or she has pratibha, has the vision, and that method is chosen by him. So you see, everything here rests around the individual and the individual choice. Therefore, the question of leader, the question of guru, is only as somebody who can make suggestions. Right? So, great anugraha or kindness of the guru is needed in order to enlighten me. But my enlightenment has to be personal. Swanabhuti. Unless I have my anubhuti, I don't know anything else other than my own anubhuti. Now, once you understand, you can understand Indian politics, you can understand Indian art, you can understand Indian social structure, you can understand how should be the order of things in India. That's why so many of the Western systems are not working with us. Now, see all what I have said in the context of art and in the context of continuity. How does continuity become possible? You will say, well, everybody is doing it in himself. Everybody is doing it for himself and by himself. So how will there be continuity? That is the question we'll investigate now. Yeah, you had.
So that was quite revealing, sir, about us as to why we think the way we do. But it would immensely help if you can explain the psyche of the Christian and Islamic thought as to why, how do their minds work and why do they do the
You see, but I think it would be better if I do then separate lectures on that. Because then, in order to tell you about something, we'll need at least half an hour on Islam, another half an hour. So then we'll not be able to do. I think what is best today, we do what we do in India, try and understand how we are working. I have only mentioned Islam and Christianity in order to contrast. You see? That's why it may have appeared like a digression in the beginning, but I was quite aware that here is the big contrast, because what's happening today in India is that as all our models come from Western Europe, and at the root of all these models, there is the Christian tradition. Very little of the ancient Greek tradition, but ancient Greek tradition refurbished as some of the fundamental Christian values, which come up to as Western solutions today. And we are still trying to pursue them, and then they fail in Indian society. Now, if talking of art, very simple. We have a Sahitya Academy, we have Lalit Kala Academy, we have IGNCA, we have all these academies. But without disrespect to any individual or system or party, we all know that these institutions have not been as successful as they should have been. Why have they failed? Because they have followed the Soviet model. Jawaharlal started with the Soviet model, academies. So there the academies were supposed to do a very well chalked out task. And they did a great achievement of it, the great Bolshoi theatre and all that. But Bharat में ना माया मिली ना राम, भारत में नहीं हुआ. क्यों? Because, and we'll come to this, because the Indian artist needs patronage of a different kind, which these academies were never able to offer. Therefore, they were never able to nurture. Why? Because the Indian artist thinks differently. The Indian artist is regional as well as national. And creativity is in the region. Nation तो एक concept है ना. Region तो एक reality है. I am located in Bengal, I am located in Malayali region, language, this, that. All that is substantive. And the wider picture becomes national or subcontinental. So the artist is nurtured in the region. And these academies followed the model of administering and doing things from central Delhi. दिल्ली में अर्जी दीजिए, वहाँ से प्रोजेक्ट बनवाइए, फिर अपने घर जाइए, फिर उसका वो करते रहिए इवैल्यूएशन, फिर कुछ थोड़ा सा काम हुआ, जो हुआ उसकी गाइडलाइंस गलत थी. That's exactly the problem. Where was Tansen born? तानसेन का जन्म और तानसेन की तालीम कहाँ हुई? मध्य प्रदेश में, रीवा में. बहुत बड़े कलाकार बन गए तानसेन. अब जब बहुत मशहूर हो गए, लगभग बुढ़े हो गए, तब किसी ने कहा कि साहब वहाँ हैं इतने बड़े कलाकार. तो अकबर ने कहा बुला लो. तो ऑर्डर गया. So the king of Rewa, he could not have said no to Akbar. So Tansen comes to Agra in his last days. But he was not nurtured as a great artist in Agra. Right? It is after his death that people say there was Agra Gharana, and Agra Gharana is Senia Gharana in music. Right? And साहब हम तो सेनिया घराने की गायकी गाते हैं. But all this happened after Tansen came to Agra and after he died. The real thing happened in Rewa. So who is the one who created Tansen? Not Jalaluddin Akbar, but the king of Rewa. I don't remember his name. The credit goes to him. So the great artists, whether you go to very ancient times or you come to the modern times, they are located somewhere in India. They are nurtured somewhere in India. because they are doing sadhana in that portion of India as individuals. And they are being nurtured by a single culture. Now you see, this is something operative in all Indian forms. Let us take one of the most ancient Indian art forms. What is the most ancient Indian art form? Any guess? नहीं, म्यूजिक तो चलिए इन जनरल है, बट एग्जैक्टली पिन पॉइंट कीजिए, नाम क्या है उस ग्रेट आर्ट फॉर्म का जो ओल्डेस्ट है इंडिया में? आर्किटेक्चर नहीं, नहीं, आप एक आर्ट फॉर्म का नाम लीजिए, जैसे म्यूज़िक में ध्रुपद होता है, डांस में भरतनाट्यम होता है, ऐसे उस आर्ट फॉर्म का नाम लीजिए जो ओल्डेस्ट है इंडिया में. हाँ, केव पेंटिंग्स, भीमबेटका. अरे वही, दी ओल्डेस्ट इज वन एंड ओनली, एंड दैट इज ऋग्वेद. ऋग्वेद, यजुर्वेद, सामवेद and Atharvaved. That is the oldest artistic work. See, when you go by some of these modern categories, then you are unable to, you knew the answer or you agree with the answer I have given you, but it was difficult for you to say that because it has been categorized as religion. ये तो धर्म है साहब, ठीक है, इसलिए बच्चों को नहीं पढ़ाया जाता भारत में. ऋग्वेद पढ़ा दोगे तो आर्टिकल 28 सेक्शन 1 का हनन हो जाएगा. वो तो फॉरबिड करता है, नो रिलीजियस इंस्ट्रक्शन कैन बी गिवन इन अ पब्लिक इंस्टीट्यूशन, क्योंकि वो तो रिलीजन है साहब. इट्स द मोस्ट ब्यूटिफुल थिंग क्रिएटेड. Right? Now what is so beautiful about it? मंत्र है तो पोइट्री है, ठीक है, काव्य हो गया. उसको आप तो इस तरह से जानते हैं जैसे एक किताब रखी है, कि वो ऋग्वेद रखा है, उसके ऊपर अथर्व रखा है, ये 4 का गट्ठर रखा है. I mean, you look at it this way, but that is not Rigved. Rigved is something which is to be heard, which is live, because this is a printed edition of the Rigved from a manuscript, and the manuscript of the Rigved never came into existence properly till about 13th, 12th, 13th century. And whenever there were some manuscripts made, then they were always discarded, and people were never encouraged to learn the text of the Ved from a written manuscript. मनुस्मृति में उसका जिक्र है. Now, isn't that a wonder? That something which was composed, I don't want to go into the controversy whether 2,500 years ago or 5,000, जब भी था, it was preserved, and it is available to us today. And on this point, everybody agrees, all the Western scholars also agree, that Rig, Sam, Yajur, all the Vedas, they were 5,000 years ago just as they are today. इस पर किसी को कोई डाउट नहीं. How did this miracle happen? Huh? You know, I went to England 2002. I had some lectures in that Magdalen College, Oxford. So when I went to the immigration, they asked me some questions. So the officer was not very courteous. So he said, "What do you do?" So I told him I am a professor of English literature. You know, he didn't believe me. He said, okay, you teach Shakespeare. I said, do you want me to talk in the language of Shakespeare? How dost thou do, genteel man? Huh? Methinks. So, I started talking in Shakespearean language of 400 years ago. So he just looked at me. He says, what is this? I said, this is how they talked in Shakespeare's time, 400. Any other proof required? He stamped and let me go. Now, they don't understand the language 400 years ago in English. But we have the text, which was there 5,000 years or 2,000 or whatever, or 10,000 years ago. How did this great wonder happen? Now, another thing that you may have heard is that Veda is the origin. It is the origin of all Indian arts, right? Particularly music. That it is. So, is it just a matter of reverence that we say so? हम ये जो कुछ कह रहे हैं, ये सिर्फ महिमा मंडन है, just in order to celebrate. No. It is literally true. How? Now, Vedic mantra is poetry in a chanda or in a meter, but it is to be recited. In order to recite the text, it was recited in what is called a particular manner. I'll give you a very brief account. In some other time, we can have a detailed account and I can give you detailed examples. When it was recited, then just the text was recited in 3 tones. What is the difference between speech and recitation? You see, when we speak, then our voice goes into a rise and a fall little bit. If it doesn't, if there is no rise and fall in the sound of our speech, then what does it sound like? It sounds like the computer language, as if I'm trying to speak to you just in monotone, right? Nobody wants that. So, but when you make the rise and fall of the voice a little more prominent, then that is called a recitation or part, padhna. Till 200 years ago, before arrival of print in India, padhna का मतलब था recite. अब पढ़ने का मतलब है किताब पढ़ना, silently, right? See, this is how things change, words change. So, part, Veda part, Rig part was in 3. Udatta, Anudatta and Swarit. Like Pavakana Saraswati Vaji Ebhir Vajnivati Yagyam Vashtu Deyavasuchodagitri Sunritanam Chetanti. So this is 3 tones, right? Now, Ved had to be recited only in these 3 tones. But Samved had to be recited in 7 tones. Therefore, Sam was not called recitation, but Sam was called Gan. So we don't say Sam apart. सामवेद पढ़ रहे हैं, ये नहीं होता है कभी. साम का गान होता है, साम गान. 7 notes are there. And once you have 7 notes, then you have possibility of more complicated way of using those notes and what is called music or sangeet. In present times, the word is sangeet for music. In ancient times, at the time of Veda, part and gan, it was called Gandharva, right? Sangeet शब्द का प्रयोग नहीं होता था, गांधर्व कहा जाता था. because it came from the region of Gandhar, Afghanistan, where music is forbidden today, where musical instruments are broken today, right? आ गया ना इस्लाम हुई, because it is forbidden. But all Indian music took its birth in Gandharv, Afghanistan, what later on called Gandharv, Afghanistan, but the Gandhar Pradesh. So the 3 tones and the 7 tones. So I'll play for you some clippings, very short clippings, so that you can hear and see the difference. All right. Now, it is very important that the two are seen as different, right? The simple question that can come to your mind is, why do you make a distinction between Rig Veda and Samveda? What was the need for people to use 2 kinds? एक ही से काम क्यों नहीं? Can you hear? आपको सुनाई दे रहा? वो स्पीकर अंदर Now, in this, you can see only 3 tones. There are different people singing the same thing. They just sung the Savita mantra. Now this is Samved. You see the difference? It's more like singing. There are 7 notes here. Now, the Yajurved is again in 3 tones, like the rig. Right? So, the fundamental difference that 7 notes are used in Samagan. Now, what is the difference between the use of 7 notes in Samagan and what may be called music? At that time called Gandharv, later on called Sangeet. अंतर क्या है? 7 नोट का यूज हो रहा है, but what is the difference? There are no alankaras here. There is no gamak, right? Unfortunately today you hear all these Vedic mantras being sung as if contemporary music is being sung. Tat savitur varenyam. You know, they do it in rag this, rag that. Now this was forbidden. This happened just in 25 years. I made many efforts in trying to explain to people, don't do this. Don't do something which people did not do for 5,000 years. Question, why should we not do it? You should not do it because recitation of the Vedic mantra is restricted to a certain ambience of a sound. When you hear it from afar, then you know this is Vedic chant or this is Vedic Gana. And that style should not be used for any other thing. So it should not be used for welcoming, let's say, the Prime Minister or the President of India. Aap aa gaye hain, kahan baithe aapko lekar. I don't know, maybe one day some Secretary of Culture thinks this is the best thing. But I'll be the first man to oppose it. Because we have to use this sound, this recitation, only for this purpose. Otherwise, the sound gets a context for which that sound is not meant. Now, this is a very fundamental question of culture. It is impossible to explain this to, let us say, majority of Western Indologists or American researchers or modern people or even people from Ambedkar University or JNU, because they all believe in freedom. So they, well, if this can be used for this art form, it can be used for that art form also. Why not? And they'll say this is hegemony of Brahmins. That's why they don't let this being used. Now you see, that's not the reality. The reality is you have reserved this sound for Vedic part and Vedic Gan. So when you keep that sound restricted to that purpose, and you have the freedom to create so many kinds of sound, so many kinds of music with so many alankaras. So you can do North Indian music, you can do Carnatic music, you can do Bengali music. You can do all kinds of things with your sound. It is primarily a way of manipulating sound and creating vibe. When you sing Rabindra Sangeet, then you have to make a sound in a particular manner and a particular way of producing sound. Similarly, for the Vedic. Now, this kind of creation with a variety was very early envisaged in India. And they said that we must know what is the purpose of art. The purpose is not to create something new. साहब मैंने देखी ये create कर दिया, अब आप आकर देखिए. I have created a new technique. Oh, all right, you may have created a new technique, but to what purpose? What is art for? Art is not for creating techniques. Right? We have plenty of automobile manufacturers for creating new models every year. Or sari walas to create a temple sari and this, and that. All that happens. Art has to have a higher purpose. So when you come to art, where do we find some of the fundamentals of art? And where do we find an art form which can contain all other art forms and be a beacon of light for all other art form. ऐसी कौन सी आर्ट फॉर्म है जिसमें सारी आर्ट फॉर्म समा जाती हैं? थिएटर, थिएटर और फिल्म, उसमें सब आ जाता है ना. Painting comes, music comes, and the primary quality of theater is that you see and you hear at the same time. So the story has been told in the Natya Shastra that Indra goes to Brahma. Brahma is the creator. So Indra goes to Brahma and says, Kridaniyakam ichhamo, Kridaniyakam ichhamo, Yat Shravyam cha Drishyam bhavet. Brahmaji, I want something to entertain me, which is seen as an art form and in which there is something to hear at the same time. Do you understand? So Brahma gives him what? Natya Ved, not Natya Shastra or Natya Vidya. उन्होंने कहा हमको कुछ ऐसी चीज़ दीजिए जो देखने की हो और जो सुनने की हो. तो उन्होंने कहा here it is. This is an art form. But is it just an art? No. It is a Natya Ved. नाट्य वेद है ये. अब देखिए, a minute ago we were talking about how music has grown out of Vedic chant and Vedic गान. एक मिनट पहले हमने यही सुना ना. So at the level of physicality we saw it. Now here Natya is presented as Veda again. उन्होंने, Indra did not go to Brahma and said that give me great spiritual knowledge. Give me the way out of this world. मुक्ति का मार्ग बताइए महाराज. ये तो नहीं कहा. उन्होंने तो कहा कि भाई कुछ मन बहलाने के लिए क्रीडनीयकम इच्छामो, क्रीडनीयकम इच्छामो. Well, what is the difference then? He gives something very big, Natya Ved. Why did he give Natya Ved? Because he said this is the fifth Ved. And what is this distinctive quality about the fifth Ved? That it has all the teachings, all the summum bonum, all the whole thing just now of the four Vedas. तो पंचम वेद में चारों वेद समा गए. ऐसी कौन सी आर्ट फॉर्म है जिसमें कुरान मजीद भी समा गया या जिसमें होली बाइबल भी समा गई? ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. बट भारत में तो हो गया. When I say, as a scholar of Natya Shastra, that this is the fifth Veda, then none of the Samavedi, Tripathi, Dvivedi or Chaturvedi, he says, no. How is it possible? Pancham Ved आ गया इनका, पंचम वेदी हो गए जी ये तो. ऐसा कोई नहीं कहता. Natya Shastra has the status of the fifth Veda. And similarly, Mahabharata is sometimes called the fifth Veda. Because Veda is knowledge. And Natya or art gives us knowledge. So this categorization that Veda is spiritual, Veda is philosophy, Veda is religion is limited. Our categorization is different. Yes, it is Ved, 4 Ved, but then there is the Pancham Ved which has all these Vedas in it. What is the big difference? In order to learn the 4 Vedas, you will need years and years. And it is not possible for most people to do it, to understand it, to come close to it. But theater is something which everybody can go and enjoy. Everybody can go and entertain himself, herself, whether you are educated, whether you are less educated or more educated, whether you are upper class or lower class or middle class, no matter what you are. So, the value of art is of the same kind, of the same level, of the same status as the highest of the so-called spiritual or religious text. And it is of the same nature. It is of the same nature. See, these are deep civilizational values which you must understand, especially in the context of India. You may have heard a musician saying, साहब हमें तो इसी से मुक्ति मिलती है, यानी गाने से, हमारी तो यही साधना है. Because it is literally true. Or you can do it through painting. There are paintings which are done only for religious purpose. There are paintings which are done for all kinds of other purposes. Right? But the reward can be the same and will be the same, which will come to somebody who has done 42 years of Veda. जो उसको मिलेगा फल वो इनको भी मिलेगा. Now, I don't know if modern Anglophonic JNU returned or Harvard returned people will believe me, but then this is what the tradition has believed. There are hundreds of texts which say so, that it is available to any artist. And that is the reason why so much art was produced in India. Not just because I get money out of it. Look at the hundreds and thousands of temples all across India, constructed for at least 2,700 years or maybe more. How is it? Because they were not just for money, they were for moksha as well. Moksha for artha, because obviously when you went there to do chiseling, you got a salary or you got something by wages. And it was also your choice, your swadharma, because you were either a sthapati, a master architect, or a shilpi, right? And you were proud of it, and you had a tradition to it. Any doubts about it? It's very well recorded. Now see, this is how we have thought of art. This is how we have thought of the artistic achievements, because we have different values. Now, if you think what I have been telling you is the truth, then can we have categorizations as commercial art, spiritual art, religious art. Somebody may be doing commercial painting, but if that painting is able to create the artistic process in that person, then the person has achieved dharma, artha and kam and moksha, all the four purusharthas. Am I sounding logical? Right? Mukti is possible for thieves also. It is possible for prostitutes also. India is the only country which says so. And thieves and prostitutes can be jnani. Puranas are full of stories where a great rishi has a doubt, he goes and asks questions. So the teacher, the mentor he goes to says, well, why don't you go to that woman living in that quarter of the town? He says, what, there? He says, yes, there. And he goes to that Ganika. And after listening to the discourse of the Ganika, he comes back enlightened. So Ganika doing commercial sex became knowledgeable. Ganika doing art and painting and music in that Veshma Graha, prostitute house or courtesan house, acquired knowledge. Now, is this all a fantasy of the evil Brahmins? It is not. Now, if you understand the prayojan of art, then you will be able to see the principles of art, and then you will be able to see the diversity of art. Because something which is the principle of art cannot be stated again and again in exactly the same manner. Now, let me give you an example. You must have seen this very ordinary controversy. How many types of Ramayana? At Chicago, we used to have a gentleman called Ramanujan who wrote, I think, 7 types of Ramayana, an essay. Huh? And people, wrote all kinds of books and all controversies, whether this Ramayana is right or that Ramayana is right, whether Tulsi Ramayana is right or Valmiki is right, what is historically true or not or not. You know what Tulsidas has said? Nana bhati Ram avatara. Nana bhati Ram avatara. So how can there be one Ramayana? Ramayana Shata Koti Apara. Shata Koti, not 7 types. 100 crores of Ramayanas are there. ये तुलसीदास को कोट कर रहा हूँ भाई, अपने आप बना कर नहीं कह रहा. And Tulsidas wrote 400 years before the present controversy of how many types of Ramayana. What is the difference of vision? The difference of vision is that there is a Ramayana created each time a Bhakta, Rama Bhakt sees Ram. Each time the Rama Bhakta sees the Leela. तो रामायण प्रकट हो, राम प्रकट हुए, राम की लीला उसने देखी तो रामायण लिख दी, रामायण हो गई. Now, no need to waste time about all those stupid controversies that we have in Ayodhya these days. It's so clear that my swanabhuti, my understanding my perception, my knowledge, my knowing of Rama is something as real as maybe another person's. And there is no contradiction. So he may say that Ram was 11 years old when he went to the forest. I saw him as 18 when he was going to the forest. Both is correct. Because my Ramayana is my vision. You see, when Tulsi wrote his Ramayana, what does he say? Nana Purana Nigamagam Sammatam Yat Ramayane Kvachit Anyatopi. I have read so many Puranas and Agamas and texts, and Ramayana also, Valmiki Ramayana or Adhyatma Ramayana. Ramayane Kvachit Anyatopi. And then he goes on to say, Tulsi says this in contemporary language. Ramayane Kvachitanyatopi Swantah Sukhaya Tulsi Raghunath Gatha Bhasha Nibandhamati Manjulam Atanoti. कि मैं भाषा में अवधि में ये सब लिख रहा हूँ स्वांतः सुखाय, अपने सुख के लिए. मैं ये कह ही नहीं रहा कि साहब मेरी सही है और वाल्मीकि की गलत है. Of course, all these controversies arise because there is only one Bible. And now we have all come to the conclusion that there was never one Bible, that many Gospels existed, and all kinds of Gospels existed. And it was a fiction made by the Christians that there was only one Charitra of Yeshu. So many have emerged today. And 25 years or 30 years from now, you won't have this controversy left. So Indian vision never thought of going into this controversy because that would have put an end to diversity. That would have put an end to controversy, diversity of creation. So the Siddhanta is something that we inherit from the Natya Shastra, that art is Panchama Veda. And then art is Swanabhuti. And that art brings us to the path of moksha. And it's a very early text like Yagyavalkya which says so. Moksha margam niyachati veena-vadana tattvagyo jati shruti visharadaha talagyo aprayasena moksha margam niyachati. Somebody who knows how to play the veena, veena-vadana marmagyo, veena-vadana tattvagyo, one who knows the tattva of playing. Jati Shruti Visharada. Somebody who knows what is Jati and Shruti. This is ancient language for Rag and Tal. Jati Shruti Visharada. Talagyo, one who knows Tal, Moksha Margam Niyachati. He goes on the way of moksha. So through art, again, you can achieve moksha. Because knowledge can be achieved through various ways. Now this is the continuity and diversity. That is why we have never said that this is a superior language or this is an inferior. Sanskrit is not a superior language. Sanskrit is a language with certain characteristics, power and ability. But all other languages are equally valid. Because what is the term for all languages? Indian or non-Indian? Vak. Vak, and Vak is in 4 stages. uh, para, pashyanti, madhyama, and vaikhari. So para is something which cannot be uttered, which is the ultimate. Pashyanti, when you become conscious of it. Madhyama, when you come close to that consciousness, and Vaikhari, when it comes out of the tongue. So whether it comes out of the tongue as Sanskrit or Bangla or Tamil, it is Vak. It is equally valid. There is no question of hegemony of one. And that is why great transfer from one language to another and recreation from one language to another. You see, in India, we did not make so many translations. Sometimes we did, and sometimes we did very deep analysis of certain texts through Vartik and various other methods of investigation, Vyakhya. But when it came to the original story, we just retold it. That's why there are not so many translations, let us say a 10th century translation of Valmiki. There are Vyakhya on Valmiki. Why? Because people were telling their own Ramayana. Because nahi likh do bhai. Prakrit mein likh do. Ravi Shen wrote one in Sanskrit. Then Padma Puran was written in Prakrit. Then later on, so many other Ramayanas were written. Tulsi wrote it in Avadhi. So we just recreated it. We borrowed, we took, we swiped. There was no problem of what is called today a copyright. आपने मेरा माल उड़ा लीजिए साहब. जितनी बार चाहें उड़ाइए, लीजिए, रख लीजिए, अपनी किताब में लगा दीजिए, pages के pages. Because the text is important. The idea is important. The para is important. The Pashyanti, the Madhyama, and the Vaikhari are not important. This is how diversity has come about in Indian art. Not because there was caste system in art and therefore there had to be a Brahmin music and a Vaishya music and a Shudra music. जो आजकल आप जितनी व्याख्याएं सुन रहे हैं वो एक टी एन कृष्णन साहब हैं, उन्होंने कर्नाटक म्यूज़िक को ब्राह्मण म्यूज़िक डिक्लेयर कर दिया है. This is all wrong. India, if was thinking as if you could create a music because you belong to a certain caste, would have had no music today. The huge variety that you see right from Afghanistan, Kashmir, and down to Sri Lanka, and then here right up to Burma, and again end of Gujarat. The huge variety that you see is because the Siddhant was welcome and taken. If somebody wrote a Gita Govinda in 11th century called Jayadev, if somebody wrote it, the same idea was taken 300 years, 400 years later in different languages. So he writes, Yahi Madhav, Ma Kuru Kaitava Vadam. जाओ जाओ माधव जाओ, ये छल कपट की बातें मत करो. वो 500 साल बाद वो वही ठुमरी गा रहे हैं, जा जा सांवरिया मैं तो से ना ही बोलूं. The same idea is repeated. Nobody says that this is a copyright of Jayadev, because it was recreated in a different place, in a different language, for a different audience, with a different, but the result was the same. Giving you a glimpse of Madhav, giving you a glimpse of the ultimate, giving you a glimpse of the para. So this is where the continuity and this is where the diversity of Indian art is. Thank you so much. We'll have 10 minutes of questions and then we'll end the session. Okay?
May I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
So the 100 Ramayanas, that Ramanujan essay controversy.
Ramanujan.
No, the Ramayanas, many Ramayanas, 100 Ramayanas, whatever that.
No, no, Tulsi says Shatakoti Apara.
Yes, right.
Unlimited.
So, but what you were saying again and again is that Swanubhuti, and each time the Ram Bhakta sees Rama, that seeing part is important, right? If
Is the
somebody-
only reality.
It is the only truth. So if there is not that seeing and somebody just comes and writes his own Ramayana, that
Cannot be a
that is
Ramayana.
not a retelling.
It will not be a good kavya.
Yes, but that is what is happening today.
Why it is happening?
No, like, I mean, a lot of people are writing these modern
No, no,
Ramayana.
what you are, well, let them have their day, let them have their say. Time will tell whether they have achieved something or they have not achieved something. I don't want to condemn them. I want them to write as many Ramayanas today as in whatever way, you know, if they like. If they like, they can make Sita stay in Lanka and never come back. उनकी सीता और उनका रावण ठीक है, उनको लिखने दीजिए भाई. समय बताएगा कि भारतीय मानस ने क्या माना क्या नहीं माना, उन्होंने कुछ देखा या नहीं देखा. Were they dreaming, daydreaming, or were they sick? समय बताएगा. हाँ, there was something you were saying?
Sir, in reference to this in Peter Brook's Mahabharata, so interpretation by a foreigner of our story or our epic, so would they have seen it? Is it possible for them to see it because, you know, the culture and the milieu and the ideas of are not the same?
Okay, how do they see it? Well, let us be clear. They will see it according to their upbringing, aspirations, according to their mission, and that's what they're doing. They're seeing it as caste conflict. They're seeing it as a sociological text. They are seeing it as something which is to be created only with present concern. कि इसमें दलितों के लिए जगह कहाँ है, इसमें स्त्रियों के लिए जगह कहाँ है, इसमें ओबीसी के लिए जगह कहाँ है. All right. After a while, people will understand. But we all know that the real purpose of Ramayana, number one is swantah sukhaya. अपने आप को सुख देना, और सुख में ही सब आ गया, धर्म अर्थ काम मोक्ष आ गया. और then there is a higher purpose, not just pursuing certain immediate political agenda, but let people have their say, let people bring out their vision, and we will estimate that also, we will criticize that as well, and we will give our perceptions. More questions?
Hello, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for such an enlightening discussion. Sir, my question is in continuation to that, like not just the Ramayana, but any of the rich text which Indian civilization has produced ever has never shown any sign of ownership over the same. The ownership or in modern term, the copyright context is very Western phenomena, and they have since all the text in the Western have always been a ownership over there, and that's why there is a author. But in Indian context, there are so many things which was never been the rich context and rich text which don't have any name of the authors in the on the same. So how true is this statement, and what else you want to?
See, let us be a little balanced. There is always a name of the creator. we may not like to call it ownership, but we would like to say giving due regard, respect, and admiration to the creator, the Kavi. So, Valmiki Ramayana is Valmiki. He is the Drishta. He is the one who went to Narad and said, whom shall I describe, whom shall I sing about? So that is a traditionally acknowledged fact. Historical or unhistorical, let's leave that controversy. So that text survives, that text is revered, that text is respected. But there are times when people pick up 25 lines and put it in their work. So that part that I have robbed is not there. It's like my mother-in-law used to wear this. I am wearing it now. It's not any less enjoyable. So it was there, created, used, and now it has passed on to me. And it is part of my life. That's the only difference. Because it helps me create further. And that is what Tulsi or Valmiki would have wanted. And people have always been grateful to the great poets, and they have always sung their praises. Huh? So, the whole idea of copyright, plagiarism, this is a small-heartedness of certain traditions, right or wrong, whatever. Yes?
Sir, I had a question that in the Nyaya, Laukika Nyaya, we have a Nyaya called Santana Nyaya. That is in the 11th century author. There is in Ayurveda we have a reference of Acharya Chakrapani, 11th century author, commenting on this. That something, a Shastra, whether it is a Shashvata or not, that is, whether it is a eternal science, a science being eternal or continuing. So he gives three reasons that one thing is Anaditvat. Shastra is Anadi, that is, it doesn't have any start as such, as you were telling, it came from Brahma and such a thing. That is one thing. Second thing is Bhava Swabhava Nityatvat, that is the second one is Swabhava Samsiddha Lakshanatvat, that is a particular thing will have a particular quality in it, and that is always there. Like for example, when we say something is falling, that means Adya Patana Shakti Guruhu, that is something is falling. Yeah, that will always be there. And this relation will always continue. That is Bhava Swabhava Nityatva. This will always be there. Water is always, Sheetal. It will always flow. It is Drava, no matter what. So, with this understanding, can we understand other Shastra? Because this, in Ayurveda, to convince properly the
you are
science,
right. This will apply to every Shastra. You see, Shastras are written for different areas of the world. Shastras are written for different areas of practical knowledge, but their structure is the same. Shastram iti shasanopayam. It is a discipline. So there is a discipline in, let us say, Artha Shastra, Dharma Shastra, Kama Shastra, etc. But it's the same. Just as I have Atma, or according to Charavak's lack of Atma, and other qualities, the eternal and the single, same thing applies.
But that is, does this apply to the Puranas, Upanishads, the Ramayana, Mahabharata and such epics also? Because there is a lot of confusion as it was discussed.
If it is applied to Vak itself, that there is a para and there is a Vaikhari, then it will apply to every human creation. Logical? Huh? Okay, now very briefly, because we are just about coming to the end of time.
Sir, I think you are very correct that many of the old even in drama like Mrichakatikam. Later on it was found that it was actually copied from Vasa's Daridra Charudattam, which was a much smaller play. But sir, as coming to the Ramayana, you know there was a controversy during Tulsidasa's time whether Ramayana could be written in Awadhi language and sung, because there were some powerful groups of the what you call the Vachaks who hold that Sanskrit is the proper language form. Interestingly, at that time there was a person who is one of the four great pillars of Advaita Vedanta. His name was Madhusudan Saraswati, who came to the aid of
Tulsidas.
And he said that in any language it could be written, and he gave a certificate to him saying Paramananda Patravaham Tulasi Taru Kavita Manjari Yassa Rama Ramara Chumbita.
Wow.
But he said he can write it in the Hindi. But according to my understanding of it, this Madhusudan Saraswati from Bengal, he knew that in Bengali language a Ramayana had been written 200 years ago. That is Kirtibas Ojha's Ramayana. So there is nothing unshastrik about Ramayana being written in a non-Sanskrit language. So
You see, the question, some people will always oppose because it's a matter of, but this is just the view of some people. The tradition as a whole simply cannot think of such things. All right then, thank you so much. And
So thank you so much for this enlightening lecture, and Shyam will just present a little token.
Ayushman, Kirtiman Bhava. So, thank you so much.